Greetings. Welcome to the Money Script Podcast. I'm your host, Johanse Harrison, financial advisor and financial literacy educator. In each episode, you'll hear incredible interviews and get tips and strategies that you can implement into your daily life to help you improve your money script and grow your wealth. Thank you for taking some time with me today. Let's get into this episode of the Money Script. And we are back. Welcome back, everyone, to the Money Script Podcast. So happy to be with each and every one of you here today. I had to take a small break. I apologize. I'm okay. Thanks for all of the messages from everyone and the tweets and the DMs. Yes, everybody here is good. We are all good. We continue to shelter in place, though Texas is not sheltering in place that much anymore. As of yesterday, just about everything's open. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there are a lot of things open right now. Supposedly barbershops are opening back up. I've yet to check with my barber. I'm checking with you right now. Get at me. Are you open? We got to figure this out because, yeah. Across the country over the past week, we've had a lot of, we'll call them soft openings happening across the country. Meanwhile, the amount of people with the disease continues to increase. The amount of nationwide deaths are continue to increase. But it seems like that it's going to be one of those type things where, you're just going to have to fend for yourself, unfortunately. So I know there's a lot of corporations still keeping their people at home, which is good. We don't want to, create any breeding grounds for this virus or anything. I read an article last night that Shanghai Disney sold out. It's opening back up here in the near future. So that means the ones here in the States probably won't be too far behind them. So welcome to the post-COVID-19 world. A huge social experiment that I'm sure will have some interesting and hopefully not devastating results. So, but all is good here, and I hope all is good with you. So I've got a great treat for you today. This is actually a conversation I had a couple of weeks ago with two very good friends of mine, Dr. Courtney Whittle and Keedar Whittle. You may know Keedar from for those of you friends and family out there, you may know Keedar from the stand-up special that we did together. Well, I didn't. I wasn't a comedian in the special. I helped produce the special. Hear Me Out. So if you haven't checked that out, then please hear him out. Hear Me Out. That is on, I think it's on every platform. That's on Apple Music. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Music and Spotify. It's everywhere. So check that out. Hear Me Out. We had a lot of fun with that. He's going to offer a little bit of his views on what's happening in his hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, where him and Dr. Whittle reside now. So this is a warning. He is a comedian. So he's going to make you laugh, and he's going to make you think a little bit. And that's what I love about him. He does challenge the way I think all the time. So for our sensitive listeners out there will be a little bit of language in this episode. But without any further ado, let me start by introducing my first guest.
Courtney Whittle. I'm a pediatrician. I work for Kaiser Permanente or Southeast Permanente Group here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, that's right. She's in Georgia, or they are in Georgia, rather. And we were having this conversation a couple of days, maybe the day after the governor of Georgia announced that they would be reopening the state for commerce and businesses in the coming days. So she has some very pointed views on whether or not the state should reopen if now is the time to do it. But I'll let her explain.
So I think the biggest thing that people are neglecting to keep in mind is that pediatric patients, or like kids essentially, are not being tested in most states. So like Georgia, for example, the only way that a kid is ever tested is if they're getting admitted to the hospital. So most states don't routinely test for kids just, the way that they test for adults who have symptoms, because they figure that the majority of kids typically get better, which is true.
It is true. I had to go look up the data myself. Not that I didn't believe her. Of course I believe her. She's a pediatrician. I'm just a numbers guy, so I wanted to go see the numbers for myself. So I went over to the CDC's website, and this is updated as of May the 2nd, beginning from February the 1st. there have been 10 deaths of children under the age of 14 due to COVID 19. 10 out of 44,000. That's only 0.02%. I mean, I guess it's true what they're saying. Now, I guess it's true. I mean, the numbers are saying that it's true that kids do get over this relatively easy or are the primary asymptomatic carriers of this disease, which is really terrifying, especially for those of us that are parents. But we'll let Courtney share more about that.
And so these kids are basically, carrying the disease and then coming home to their parents, to their grandparents, because you can't quarantine a kid.
Yeah,
You have
kids
to,
don't know social distancing.
they don't
I
know
try to
social
explain it
distancing.
to
Not
my daughter almost every
not only
day.
that, but as a parent, if you have a kid who has a cough and doesn't feel well, what do? They get even closer to you. They sleep in your bed.
That's true.
They lay up under you. And so these kids who are not being tested then give it to their parents, give it to their grandparents. And so this disease is just spreading and will continue to spread. And kids don't know how to keep their hands to themselves
No, they
at
don't.
all. So
And they
you
also
open
like to put them in their nose and in their butts and
everywhere.
yeah.
Like we literally we go on walks every day, and the kids, especially our boy kids, they're on their scooters, and for whatever reason, I don't know why, they pass by a house and they touch the mailbox. Why are you touching a mailbox? And it's like a whole conversation. I don't know. And you can't, and I have to explain, but this person lives here and he touches his mailbox. The mailman touches the mailbox, and they just shrug, and you can't help themselves, and they touch everything, and then they come in the house, and we do our best. We take off shoes, we wash our hands, we shower before dinner. But again, these kids who are breeding grounds for everything, and because that's the way it always has been, they are going to continue to spread this disease.
That's a pretty scary thing to think about, especially as a parent. We have a 3-year old, and there's nothing that we wanted more. If we rewind back to the beginning of this year, our number one goal was to get our daughter into preschool, and to know that, I mean, preschools are high touch areas. I mean, like she said, kids touch everything. And to know that she may be in school, and who knows, I mean, kids get colds in school all the time. I mean, every time we would take her, well, not every time, but a lot of times, especially in the wintertime, when we would take her to the gym, where there's a play area for the kids, it was not out of the ordinary for her to come, with a runny nose or, maybe a slight fever, from after being exposed to the germs that she hasn't been exposed to yet when she's, with other kids. So that's a scary thing to think about. And it's probably going to cause us to have second thoughts about putting our daughter into school, being that her grandmother, who lives with us, has a compromised immune system. So we have to continue to be very vigilant at a time like this. And so does every American. So I am asking, for our states, our counties, our federal government. I think we need to rethink this whole thing about reopening and the way that we are doing it. Because there's something else that's really scary about this COVID-19 that you may be aware of. But again, we'll let the doctor explain it. It has a lot to do with what's called the incubation period. And she'll have an interesting way of driving this point home.
With anything, incubation periods are your trickiest thing,
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's
So
true.
the
That's true.
same goes for the cold, the flu, even like any virus. Take herpes, for example, right? That's a great example, right? Like the number of people who will not admit out loud, but who have haven't lived with that disease, right? So you're out here, and you think you're responsible, and so I'm with somebody and I know them, and I'm down there, and I'm doing an inspection, and I'm looking, and I don't see any sores. But guess what? You have sex, but they then develop sores 3 days later. Oh my God, you're effed, because that incubation period is really where it's at, and your incubation and your shedding period. So you shed the virus, and this goes across the board for most viruses. You shed virus before you have symptoms. And then there's an incubation period between the time where I have the virus and where I may show symptoms. And so that incubation, a 14-day incubation period, which is what, coronavirus is, that's a long time, to say, if I am exposed to someone April 1st and April 5th, I'm good, April 10th, I'm good, and so I think I'm like, I'm fine, and I go out and in that 10 days, 11 days, 12 days, I've gone to the grocery store, I've gone to Target, I've gone here, and I've done, and then I don't then show symptoms until April 14th. Then it's like, fuck, I got to go back 14 days to then remember all the different people that I've come in contact with.
Dr. Whittle is referring to a term known as contact tracing. This is a tool that epidemiologists use to be able to find the patient zero, or the person that is, say, the cause of an outbreak in the community. And so if someone were infected, you could go back and, find out who are all the people that they've had contact with. So then you can warn those individuals that they may also be a carrier for the disease, and they can take the necessary precautions of sheltering in place, quarantining, etc. So with the 14-day incubation period, as she mentioned, I mean, you could come in contact with a lot of people in 14 days. I mean, I had to sit down and look at it myself, it was kind of easy to do because I've been sheltering in place, so I haven't had contact with a lot of people. So I made my list. I encourage you to do this at home as well. It's kind of like the 6 degrees of separation to Kevin Bacon type thing. But how many people have you had contact with in the last 14 days? But over the last 14 days, I did take mail directly from my mail carrier. I took groceries directly from a grocery delivery. I had an exchange at a gas station with a clerk. Let's see. I've received mail from my receptionist in the office. I did see my cousin, and I've seen 2 clients and, 3 clients technically I've seen to be in receipt of delivery of documents. So that's just in 14 days after sheltering in place. I can't imagine how many people I come in contact with when I'm just out in the world. And now we have multiple states, including mine, that are starting to reopen. There's a very helpful website. I've put it in the notes for this episode. It's healthdata.org. And in healthdata.org, they have a COVID-19 projections, and they're tracking for the United States, for the for the world. You can look at any country that's given results, of course, and you can even drill down per state. And so as I look at my state of Texas, since we have started reopening the state, the amount of infections have gone up. The amount of testing has also gone up. So just know that those two numbers should move together as we test more people, whether they be symptomatic or asymptomatic. As more people are tested, we are going to find more people that have the disease. And unfortunately, it will lead to more deaths. However, what will be interesting to keep an eye on is that as more people are tested, the percentage of deaths, or the death rate, will go down. And that's just because we can test more people faster than people are dying. Okay, so just keep in mind, you're going to see that. There's going to be a headline soon that the death rate of COVID-19 goes down. And part of that will be because the amount of people we are testing is going up. Numerators and denominators. So we'll save that for another day. But speaking of numerators and denominators, you may have heard in the news that Black and brown people are disproportionately affected by COVID-19. And this should not be a headline for you. But let's get back to the conversation with Courtney, and we'll dig into that a little bit more.
Just right next door to us is having a party with a DJ and barbecue and has signed up. They are celebrating their cat's birthday next door, right next door. So, my husband and I, Keedar, we had a whole conversation because I was like, I am going to call the police. And he was like, no, don't do that. And I said, no, because it's unfair, because they don't look like me. But, we are getting this virus at higher rates. We're dying at higher rates. And it's unfair. Well, first of all, then you take into consideration that as a Black person, if I literally jaywalk in my residential street, I can get arrested.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared to wear a mask. I'm straight up.
Right.
I am. There's certain places I don't know if I can wear a mask. Like, no.
Exactly. But these neighbors who are right next door who, by the way, I live on a street where there are 4 physicians on this street who come home in their scrubs. And these people have said, I could give 2 shits about any of that. We have kids that across the street has kids across the street. Like they said, we don't care. We're going to have a party for cats. And it is currently going on now.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. If you know me, I need to know the numbers. So I went to go get the numbers. Let's talk about the numbers. Okay. There are approximately 44,000 people just over 44,000 people have passed away from the coronavirus. Of these 44,000 people, 23,048 of them were non-Hispanic and white. Okay. So that's 52% of the people that passed away were white. 48% of the people that passed away were either Black, Hispanic, Asian, or unknown. Now, what makes those numbers really alarming is that if you were to look at the census estimate back in 2018, they estimated that there were approximately 330 million Americans in the United States. Out of those 330 million, 76% of them classified as white and no other race, and 24% of them classified as Black, Asian, Hispanic. And we won't go to the details of those numbers, but going back to the earlier point, basically you're twice as likely to die from the coronavirus if you're not white, which is terrifying as someone who is not white. Now, there's so many layers to why that is, and we'll let the doctor speak to some of that, but it really worries me when I saw Georgia and Texas and other states opening. Now, there's a lot of other states that have opened that don't have densely packed cities that have a lot of Black and brown people in them. But still, there were some cities that have lots of Black and brown people in them that were reopening things like hair salons and barbershops and gyms and beaches and, places where people congregate, which led to a problem in New York, which I want to talk about briefly. Just last week, the deputy police commissioner admitted that there were multiple arrests that happened after they during their stay-at-home orders. And this was data. This was about 50 days worth of data. And of all the people that were arrested, 92% of them were Black and brown, and only 7% of them were white. So, and we've seen some of the images online and on Instagram and Facebook. And again, I don't know how real those images are because I'm not there, but man, we get to do better. I don't want to get all too political on everybody right now, but we get to do better. We're going to always have a certain section of the population that is just going to do whatever they want to do.
And I think that that's real, right? So again, I'm in pediatrics. So I mean, for those listening, I don't, if you have kids or how many of us can say, man, I've got that notice from my kid's school that says that someone, the kid and the child came to school and found lice. A kid in the, school, has scabies. Because there are people who, no matter where you live, and you can say, I like to think I'm responsible and I read and I, care about the well-being of others. That's great. But I am in an environment where everyone doesn't share the same philosophy, right? So there are people who send their kids to school with lice, knowing that they have lice. There are people who show up to work knowing that they had a fever that morning and they just took Tylenol and, or whatever, because they, for whatever their reasons. And a lot of the time their reasons are valid. I can't afford to, my job doesn't pay me, whatever it may be. But because I can't separate myself from the people who are not responsible, I can't, ask someone to wear a shirt that says, hey, I'm responsible. Hey, I'm not. I can't identify. We're all fucked because of it. But I think the difference is that, I mean, your kid gets lice. That's annoying as shit. Scabies, you wash all your sheets. Like, these type of things. But coronavirus is killing people,
That's true. It is.
and
That's true.
and I think that's the difference. Like,
Yeah.
and cancer kills, and I get that. And emphysema kills, but a lot of times people have the opportunity, unfortunately, or fortunately, to prepare. They prepare their, their financials. They prepare their family to get sick. Like, Zaki and I were watching,
a news clip from like city of Atlanta, like just local news, like a 36-year-old mom of twins, like single mom of twins, no pre-existing diagnoses, got coronavirus, 12 days later, died. And died in a hospital alone. Her mother got a chance to FaceTime because they don't allow people in the hospital. Like, this is the difference. Like, I mean, when you think about the possibility of leaving a spouse, your husband, your wife, your kids, and not being able to prepare like your life insurance, not being able to pay off that last bill, not being able to like say your goodbyes, like that's a hard thing. And to think about that position, or you being put in that position because of someone else's recklessness, I think is the most infuriating thing about it all. Smoking and lung cancer. I mean, at the end, I did that. I get it. Like, that was my bad. I knew the risks. I decided to smoke. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, I'm 60 years old and I'm a man, and they told me I need to go get this digital rectal exam to check for prostate cancer, but I'm like, nah,
No.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that. I'm a man. Ain't nobody sticking
Now,
no finger.
DL Hughley, he let us all know that we got to get that exam done. He
But you see, like, there's
yeah.
some things that at the end of it you can say, you know what, I played a part and I could have done things different, or I contributed to this. But like, this virus is so fast moving. This virus does not discriminate, and people are like, I mean, to no fault of their own, like, to drop and pass away a week later, and you've done nothing but try to stay in your house, or maybe went to the mailbox. Like, how devastating is that? All I did was go to get the mail,
And you didn't know that
every day.
your mailman didn't know that they
Exactly.
were asymptomatic. It's pollen outside. Someone's cutting the grass and he sneezes, but he doesn't think he has coronavirus, and boom. Yeah,
The,
no, that's
and so it's a much harder pill to swallow, I think. And I think people are really taking that for granted, because I mean, as Americans, and especially young Americans, we're all, the like, yeah, but that'll never happen to me, like that. That's our mindset.
yeah. I know.
you know
I had to talk some sense into my son. I had to remind him that he fills a prescription for an inhaler every month. I was like, bruh, you are the people that we're worried about.
Absolutely.
Look, I know what you're thinking. I know I did have a lot of contact with people in mail. I do make sure that I wash my hands thoroughly after handling mail, or I sort it outside, or wear gloves if I have to go through a lot. So we're taking precautions here. As I said, I have a mother-in-law that's here, so we have to be extra careful because she's in that demographic. We're all in a demographic. I mean, that's the thing. This virus doesn't know what color we are. The virus doesn't know how old we are. The virus just knows that we are a host, and it's going to do what viruses do: attach to cells and replicate. Actually, the virus usually doesn't want to kill the host, but that's a whole nother scientific conversation. So, Courtney brought up a very good point about how quickly this virus takes people out, and sometimes they don't have time to get their affairs in order. I've sat with numerous clients where we were getting affairs in order right before something happened, meaning right before someone died. I've helped clients, whose parents have been in hospice and things of that nature, and helping them get their affairs in order. But with coronavirus, if you're in a coma or on a ventilator and you can't communicate for yourself, it's hard to get your affairs in order. And as she was saying, there's been lots of people that didn't even get to say a formal goodbye to their young ones. So I'm just imploring and asking everyone to use this as a time to check your own affairs. Set some time aside in your calendar. Sit down, pull up all of your accounts that you have, your IRAs, your bank accounts, your 401ks, your life insurance, all the accounts, and do a beneficiary review. Make sure you have a beneficiary listed for every account that you have. Now, it's a little difficult, or it's not difficult. There's a process you have to go through for checking and savings accounts, and you have to communicate with your bank about that. But at least for your 401k, your life insurance, don't be like that one client I had some time back that we were doing a beneficiary review in front of his wife of almost 15 years, and we pull up to his life insurance policy from the company he'd been at for 30 years. And in the meeting, I pulled this up and we do the beneficiary review, and it's still his ex-wife. Don't be that guy. So yeah, do a beneficiary review and reach out to an attorney or go to LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer and do a will, do a trust if it's appropriate for you. Get those things in order. Not that you think you're going to die anytime soon, but you are going to die. That is a part of life. So it's best to just have your affairs in order now. So of course, if you need help with that, reach out to me. I can connect you with some with great attorneys and help you with some resources to beneficiary review. I mean, that's something we all should do, and I'm working on doing that right now for all of our clients here at the Money Script. And now for something a little bit lighter. There will be some humor. Find some humor in it. It may be a little dark, but I'll just let it speak for itself. So with no further ado, I'll let you guys hear my conversation with Keedar Whittle.
Here's what's really happening. We're reopening the country because we missed the money. We missed the cash flow. But we're also reopening the country because Dr. F. Fauci came on the news and said, this is really, really affecting the Black community.
Wow.
Once we decide that it's really affecting the Black community because the Black community don't have the resources, and he confirmed that the resources for Black communities have been in deficiency for years. Once we have that, then it's, well, fuck it. Why not? Let's open up the world and let's let the Black community deal with the plague.
You guys cannot understand how much I want to think, or you just don't get it. I want him to be wrong. I really do. It's like that meme that with the guy with the sign that says, "Prove me wrong."
I agree that 60 to 80% of the people are doing exactly what they should be doing 60 to 80%
of the time. Yes. I think that's
bruh,
enough.
It's that one time you don't wear a condom.
True. That you get herpes. Yeah, your wife brought that up. Thanks for that callback. I appreciate that. I was like, how did you relate coronavirus to herpes? I was like, why are they even on the same? You're a pediatrician. Why is this coming up?
It's that one time you do not wear a condom, and it might not be a baby. It might just be herpes. It might just be gonorrhea.
I don't think Just and herpes go together.
No, but it might just be gonorrhea.
Okay, you can put Just and gonorrhea. You can put those together. By the way, this is what most of our conversations sound like. And by the way, and this went on for over an hour. We're not going to be here for an hour. It's just a few more minutes. So we'll get back to the laughter.
It's a lot of people that goes around the world not caring about the next person either. How many people give herpes to the next person because they haven't told the person that they got herpes?
Well, everyone that has surprise herpes.
Bruh, a third of the world has herpes, but I've only had 2 herpes conversations in my life.
Okay, you're going to want to sit down for this one. He's wrong. A third of the world does not have herpes. I know you probably heard that and you were like, what? A third of the world has herpes? No, a third of the world does not have herpes. According to a study in 2015 by the World Health Organization, 3.7 billion people under the age of 50, or 2/3 of the population. Yes, 2/3. He was wrong. It's not 1/3. 2/3 of the population are infected with herpes simplex virus type 1. Okay. And that is the one the mouth sore one. That's not the genital herpes, if I remember correctly. It's the cold sores one. So it's that one. The virus type 2 is the one that's sexually transmitted. So that's the other one. But combined, 2/3 of the world, people under 50, have herpes. We're just gonna leave that right here.
But I have only had 2 herpes conversations in my life. Why the rest of them bitches ain't tell me they had herpes?
Well, some of them didn't know yet.
That shit lie dormant for 7 years.
You see, that's what happens when your wife is a doctor. You know a lot of stuff about, herpes. And he's right. herpes can lie dormant for many, many years, and the individual can still be contagious. I'm just going to leave this one right here as well.
Look at those pictures that came on social media when the beaches opened up in Florida.
Oh, I saw it.
I don't know how accurate they are because
I'm not in Florida. Yeah.
But according to the pictures, within 30 minutes, those beaches were packed as fuck, bruh. Because I think your mindset, my wife's mindset of thinking people are just going to sit at home is a minority mindset. Because I got people upstairs like my sister. My sister is currently upstairs. You know what she said today during her call on with the rest of her sorority girls? You know what she said?
What's that?
Girl, I can't wait for when brunch open back up. I'm going to get me the shrimp and grits. I'm going to get me the... People are ready. People are ready to go outside. You ain't spending no money on gas. You ain't spending no money on the shit frivolous things you used to spend.
And you just got free money from the government.
You just got free money from the government. You ain't spending no money on a lot of
discretion.
Discretionary funds or eating out. You're not spending a lot of money on that. So hopefully, while everybody's sitting at home, you see an extra $200 in your account, $300 in your account, $5,000 in your account. Whatever level you're on, you see a little extra in your account because you're not spending that money. When people see money, what do?
Most Americans are consumers, so they want to spend. Yep.
The saying is, money burns a hole in your pocket.
He's right. As the economy has opened up, consumer spending has spiked. The market has spiked. Potentially the market is reacting to the fact that consumers are spending money again because it has been burning a hole in their pocket. So again, that's not what we're about here at the Money Script Podcast. We're about learning how to control those impulses. If you're not spending a lot of money on food and dining out, and you probably learned that, your bar tab adds up really quick, things of that nature. Hopefully you're saving that money. Hopefully you're taking that money and paying down on your debts. Hopefully you're taking that money and investing it for the long term. But the truth is the majority of people aren't. But you don't have to be in the majority. This is one time when you do want to be in the minority. By the way, I had a view on NFL, and that view has since changed. So just know, in 2 weeks, yes, my mind changed. So let's talk about the NFL. I still don't foresee football.
No, man, shut the fuck up. They opened up beaches. That's so these football players can go back to training camp. The whole thing was an NFL.
It was that you're right. It was. You're right. Because they said sports arenas and gyms.
Yeah, come
in
on,
phase
man.
1. I'm like, wow.
Man,
Did they
NFL
really generate that much money?
Yes. NFL is one of the biggest money makers and one of the biggest supporters of the president.
That's true.
Every NFL owner supports millions to the president. Every NFL owner.
Is it every? I thought there was one holdout.
Okay. All right. Let's say it's one holdout.
Okay.
And you know what else supports the president and elected officials? The churches, especially the mega churches. Election season. Oh, it's election season. So we got to have the churches open so these big time officials can come in and say their spiel to our millions of followers.
Okay, there was a lot more than just one holdout. According to public records, there were about 10 owners that gave directly to Trump, either to his campaign or to his inauguration. There's also data that supports that NFL owners support Republicans over Democrats since 2008 on a 3-to-1 ratio. So there's that too. So, I mean, NFL owners can support whoever they want to support, but it looks like they're getting some support back, and maybe we will have an NFL season. So, and speaking of millions of followers, I want to give a huge shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you so much for supporting the Money Script Podcast. We're so happy to have each and every one of you as a listener. And one of you will be our very lucky 1,000th download. That will be happening. It might be happening as you are listening to it right now. You may be the 1,000th person. So shout out to all of you out there, and thank you for all the support. Of course, continue to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tune in to the Money Script podcast. And remember, do a beneficiary check. Make sure you have beneficiaries for your accounts. Check with your parents and grandparents. That's something. I mean, they're stuck at home. They may need some help logging into their accounts and getting their affairs in order, because if it's not the coronavirus, something will take us out. It won't be herpes. Fortunately, you don't die from that. But, unfortunately, 2/3 of us have it. Man, that one's heavy. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll see you next time, and we'll go ahead and let the outro take you out. So you guys stay safe. Keep washing your hands. Please keep social distancing. Please wear a mask if you need to wear a mask, and just be safe. Thanks for joining us on the Money Script podcast. Be sure to check out our other episodes, subscribe, follow, and give us 5 stars. Continue to send your financial questions on Twitter or Instagram at the Money Script. Go to moneyscriptwealth.com and schedule your complimentary consultation to discuss your specific goals and concerns. Financial advisory and investment management services are offered by Money Script Wealth Management PLLC, a registered investment advisory firm registered in the state of Texas and California and other states where exempt. The Money Script LLC and the Money Script Wealth Management PLLC and guests of the episode may have interest in the investments mentioned today. The opinions and views are expressed here are for informational purposes only. This material is educational in nature and should not be deemed as a solicitation for any specific product or service. All investments involve risk and a significant loss of principal. The Money Script nor Money Script Wealth Management offer tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax advisor or attorney for specific advice about your situation. Until next time.